ran out. And it's just a way of showing, you can't speak that way. I love Trey Hogan. I think he's sending a great message. Thank you, Trey.
Very effective.
Very effective. So we are marking the 100th anniversary this month of the ratification of the 19th Amendment. While it gave all women the right to vote, most black women could not vote until the civil rights movement of the 1960s. On this historic centennial, we're exploring the long struggle for full equality. USA Today is highlighting women who have paved the way in its Women of the Century project. This is a great idea. Susan Page is the Washington bureau chief for USA Today and joins us to discuss. Hey, Susan Page. Good to see you.
Hey, Gail. How you doing?
I'm good. You know why I'm good? Because you and I can both vote. You're white, I'm black. I'm just glad that we can finally go to the polls together, should we choose, and cast our vote. So what do you think we can learn from history when we look at this moment? Black women were beaten and arrested and jailed for the right to vote.
I think one thing we should remember is this was not easy. We saw suffragettes getting arrested and beaten, estranged from their families, imprisoned, force-fed in prison. Susan B. Anthony tried for the crime of voting, convicted in a trial where she couldn't testify because she was female. This has been a long struggle, and an especially long struggle for women of color.
Yeah, and some people say that struggle still continues today. Stacey Abrams has that whole big campaign about, fighting against voter suppression. Still very scary times as we sit here in 2020 on the eve of a presidential election.
And absolutely right. Voting rights still a big issue. And what we see, one thing happening this year, women as the driver of this election. Women have reached new levels of activism. They've become candidates in record numbers. And they're really the voting group that we see the two presidential candidates focused on as they look toward November, Gail.
Yeah, we were talking about 2018. A record number of women won office across the country. What impact do you think that will have as we go to the polls in 2020?
I think it has an impact to have women as candidates. This is the year we have Kamala Harris on the national ticket, just the third woman ever nominated for vice president. If that ticket wins, she'd be the first woman to become either president or vice president in our country. That would be definitely a breakthrough. These are changing times for women, and we see Kamala Harris being treated in different ways than the previous three women who have been on national tickets. Not a perfect system, but one that's changing.
Different ways how?
Well, I remember I actually covered the 1984 campaign when Geraldine Ferraro became the first woman on a national ticket. And I remember the endless debates about what she would wear and whether she and Walter Mondale would hug each other. And, that's the kind of debate that it's not that we're not having any sexist debates today. That is a debate we have gotten past.
Well, Susan, it's Anthony Mason. It's interesting that a number of prominent women have announced that if it becomes that conversation, or in any way she is targeted in kind of a derogatory way, that they are going to come out in defense of her, and so there's obviously a clear effort to change the conversation here.
Anthony, that's exactly right. And it changed just in the last 4 years. I think a lot of women were distressed by some of the treatment of Hillary Clinton when she became the first woman ever nominated for president. And I think a determination that some of those attacks are going to be addressed in a much more direct way than they were 4 years ago.
We were talking about the big piece that you've done in USA Today. There are some names we know, of course, like Rosa Parks. Did you have one or two that stood out for you that we might not know, that you think you guys should know about this person?
Hey, I'll just mention two things. We took nominations from the public. We got hundreds of them. The number one woman mentioned most often by nominations from the public, Pat Summitt, the legendary coach of the University of Tennessee Lady Volunteers. Let me mention another woman who I did not know about until this project, Felicita Mendez, who was distressed in the 1940s by the segregated schools in California that her three children were being forced to attend. She and her husband pursued a landmark legal action that really